it's so like gross to me, because I think that's one of those things. Is like being in relationship with people does suspend your morality. That's a feature, not a bug.
Yep.
It's like absolutely beautiful, actually, because when you like, when you're like, I don't like gay people, and then you find out that your kid is gay, and then you're like, I love my kid, and then you meet your kids, and then you meet your kid's partner,
Yep.
and you're like, they're fine,
Yep.
and then you're like, I'm changing my mind about
Yep.
this. It's like love does rewrite your morality. That's salvation.
Coming into contact with reality rids you of your ideological predispositions that are wrong.
Oh, I think
right?
so. That's true in the rational level, but I mean in the relational level. I think it's a holy thing that relationships suspend your morality, and that's what Jesus' story was. Is he shirked the letter of religious law for favor of personal human relationship in its
spirit
fullest.
of the law. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The letter of the law for spirit of the law. And so, why am I saying that? There's a reason I'm saying that.
Relationships are where God is. God is relationship.
Well, that's true.
Well, that's
certainly.
obvious. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
It was Greg. It was Greg being like, I was explaining this to Greg, this concept that I was working on for one of my lectures, and he was like talking about how like, yeah, it's like if JJ ran a kid over with his car, would he report him? And Greg was like, nah. He was like, maybe if he ran over like 3 kids with a car, and he thought there was gonna be more coming. But that's his personality, is that like my relationships are like changing my morality in a way. Like my relationships are more important than me like proving myself a perfect moral agent by loyalty to abstract principles that are devoid of any context or relationality. Yeah. And then me, I'm the kind of person that very much, I'm just personality type that's like, I would, if someone like, you know, hit a kid with their car, I'd be like, I think for the best for you. Like you should, you know, face accountability, right?
And like that in your relationship, you should want the best for the best part of that person. Yeah. And, you know, unless that person is genuinely a psychopath, technically,
but even if they are a psychopath,
well, in that case, I don't even know if you could I don't know if that person is capable of even relationship formation. It'd be like having a relationship with a, I don't know, feral dog.
And again, and here I'll be like, listen.
I mean, like in the most clinical sense, not
and in a clinical sense,
like small amygdala.
And what I'm gonna say is, in the clinical sense, I don't know nobody. I don't know the definition of psychopathy and what you're talking about, and I don't know anybody. So I have no human application. So to me, it's not worth having an opinion on. You know,
because there is a line between, well, are you like enablement versus right, and that is a fair.
And that's just a forever conflict, though, right? Well, that's a perennial problem. So when people try to solve it, I'm like, guys, you're not being human right now.
So pointing that out, like, oh, this is enabling behavior. It's like, well, how do you
More than that, in online accountability culture, it's that you're an enabler.
Yeah, right.
It's that now you're in a category. You're now innately something.
Right, and like the only person. First off, God only in the final analysis. Do you know, is it enablement or what do you call it? Like relationship. Prioritizing the relationship, and it's all case by case, and only those people know. And so,
and even the case by case thing. This is the thing, right? In the final analysis, and the case by case thing is insinuating that there's a correct one but like we just don't know what it is.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, I'm like, these are so human. I'm like, I don't know if there is a correct one. You can't strike
or when in doubt, lean towards the like you know, like you can enable a drug addict obviously in very practical ways. Right, like, oh, you know, I'll let him steal, or when I won't do this and stuff. But it's like, if it is, I want the best for you, then you would clamp down and not enable, quote unquote. But
I don't know. But even that, though, right? Like,
you should meet some heroin addicts who steal your money.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I was gonna go with lighter shades of like people that drink a lot.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, but do you want a relationship with them? And like, you know what I mean? Like,
true. Yeah, you can't moralize to them, right?
But because again, even that, it's like just having more shades, like the I don't know, just being human. There's 2 things that I think are really interesting ones. One was Sam Harris writing about his friendships with like Jordan Peterson or like Elon Musk and stuff, where he says this kind of thing. I started listening to Sam Harris because of the Jordan Peterson research stuff.
Nice.
And then like, I don't know, even though I don't agree again with everything he says, right? It's against this broader coalition. I'm like, you know, it's a person that I disagree with, the kind of person that I disagree with that I want to listen to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's one of the things he said is like, I don't know, like the ethical gradient of like, you know, it's a friend, so I'm not want to take this public and fight about this, and I want to keep this relationship versus I need to stick to my moral principles and hold people accountable. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I still don't know. And one that I thought was really beautiful that again, people are kind of clowning on, but like, is Casey Neistat's documentary about David Dobrik. Do you know what this?
I know who David Dobrik is, and I know who Casey Neistat is.
And Casey Neistat.
I know that David Dobrik got in that whole controversy about
problem
covering for his other
friend. And Casey
friend.
Neistat was... Oh, yeah, that's one of them. The other one is the case where he just hurt someone physically.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he just like disabled someone for life, kind of. Like, not like...
Wait, is that the guy with the eye thing or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, Casey Neistat was making a documentary about David Dobrik, and then all this happened. So the documentary turned into about this. And there's this interview snippet. It's just incredible to me of Casey Neistat. Like, people are like, it's like, why won't you release it? It's done. And he hasn't dropped it. And it's done and it's good. And he hasn't dropped it. And they're asking him, and he's like, you know, like, I made it and I thought it was right to make it kind of about this and the trappings of fame. It started to be about Incredible Fame, and then it became about like the trappings of fame. And I thought it was only right to, like, you know, let the victims like say their piece and then let David say his piece. And he did at length, and it didn't go well. He didn't look good. But this is the truth. This is this movie. And now I'm just like, is this worth my friendship? This is worth my relationship? And he's just sitting like, I don't know. And of course, the internet is like, drop it, because what a coward, what a hypocrite, because they're like, just want to see a blood like sport event. Of course, like, everyone wants to see that. And they're like, why aren't you just being moral and sticking to? But I think it's so beautiful. He's so honest. He's like, I'm uncomfortable. He's like, I don't know why I'm not dropping it. So I'm just sitting here looking at this thing that's like, it's like a, you know, it seems like the truth, and it looks really bad for someone that I loved. And
yeah, the
the
whole, you know, because I've been on YouTube for 4 years. I don't know if I consider myself a public figure. I'm certainly public enough, saying that Israel maybe did 9/11 on Destiny's podcast.
I don't like that you're saying it on this podcast. I don't know if this is on yours or mine.
But it has made me think more about, like, okay, like for example, FT Signifier. We talked about this. It's like, I asked FT Signifier.
The fact you can even say, like, you're talking to, like, Destiny and FT Signifier. And I'm saying it's an attest to your unique authenticity as a centrist. Right. You really prioritize it.
Yeah, well,
again, it's pragmatic, right? Is that you work you work to make sure you have the ears of leftists. Like, you will change yourself to make sure that you achieve that pragmatic outcome.
Right.
I just respect it.
Yeah. And it's like with FD, I asked him if he has any conservative friends or anyone in his life. He's like, no, not really. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So let's say, like, I disagree with some of what FT Signifier has to say, which, to be clear, I definitely disagree with some of what FT Signifier has to say. It's like, well, what is the proper way to do that pragmatically? Is it to make a video criticizing FT Signifier? Here's why FT is wrong. He's stupid. He's what is it? That on the one hand, that would, in some sense, that's more honest, because I'm like, here's what he said, and here's what I honestly think about what he said.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But if the goal is not say what I think is true propositionally.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you said that, in some way it's more honest, and I was gonna be like, in a propositional sense. That's
exactly, but like, if the truth is trying to, you know, if I think he's wrong, get him to, you know, see what I see about it.
If that's your goal, I want him to see what I see.
Then I'm gonna go, well, maybe my role here is not to condemn or criticize him publicly, even though that, you know, that's one way to do it. It's like, well, maybe I should be FD's conservative friend, you know, and it's like,
my life,
and I'm happy to play that role, and it's like, I also just like being the Klaus Schwab of, you know, YouTube politics.
What's that?
You know who Klaus Schwab is?
No. We have a different list of kind of cultural reference.
Imagine if we were having a conversation and you mentioned Karl Marx. I'm like, who?
Okay.
Like, what Marx is to the leftist worldview, not. I mean, I'm over exaggerating.
That's fine. Yeah.
Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, the globalist conspiracy, the globalist entity, Davos, the people who are chemically castrating people through the BPA's in the water bottles. We talked about that earlier. But my point is like, Klaus Schwab is pulling the strings behind a lot of, like, the idea is he's not out in public so much giving speeches, but like,
okay.
And that's what I'm gonna try and do, is pull the strings.
More powerful.
I know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's good. And I always say, like, I said to you, like, that the biggest, like, credit to your project or whatever is that you got in FD's head.
Yeah.
Is that he didn't really want to like you?
Which is funny, because I criticized his video. He made a video criticizing Jordan Peterson, and I think he said some things that were just dumb, and I said as much. And first off, I didn't think he would see it, and I never did it in a way that was like, well, you know, if he sees it, would it be convincing him? And I'm actually kind of surprised. It's a testament to him that he was open-minded enough to even continue to like listening.
Yeah.
But again, because it's like, well, I'm not changing what I believe per se to get to him. I'm changing what particular propositional autistic truth I might say in any given time.
Sure.
Which is different because it's like part of I think why he respected me is because I was critical of Jordan Peterson and I said, I like the maps meaning stuff. This shit's insane. Here's the 3 reasons why he's ridiculous. And I saw FD mention that in a different conversation one time of like, he basically broke down how there's like the religious Jordan Peterson, the self-help, and the political.
Sure.
And the religious and self-help are good, and the political is kind of off the rails sometimes.
That's one way you could...
Right, which is what I honestly believe. And that, and that goes back to like, well, I believe that you should say what you believe to be true as best as you can and see what happens, right? And there's all kinds of qualifications, nuance to that. Because like we just said, there's propositional truth.
Yeah.
And I'm saying what's propositionally true, but it's like...
And also which truth out of the infinity
of
things.
Truth.
And also, and the biggest one I think is, do you know the truth? And
exactly.
Do you know the truth of what
know?
you think?
Yeah.
And do you even know what you actually think or feel?
Right.
I think that's another problem.
Or the best thing that Jonathan Haidt pointed out is like, what does it feel like to be wrong? It feels exactly the same as being right. Finding out that you were wrong is like a bad feeling or shitty, but like while you're wrong the whole time,
that's pretty funny.
You don't know. It's the exact same feeling. So like
that's why I started talking about Leela, like having a sense of play and even role play. You even actually use the word of FD. It's like, do I need to give him a piece of my mind? And it's like, no, it's like what role am I going to play here?
Right.
You know, and not perceiving that as dishonesty or like inauthenticity, because I think like Byung Chul Han talks about in the Disappearance of Rituals, covering right now in book club, right? This cult of authenticity, like that's the most important thing to be. And I think it also defines authenticity as me asserting kind of my subjective truth constantly and spitting it out there
in a propositional way.
Yeah.
Cult of authenticity equals hyper autism.
Sure.
Say whatever is being said.
I don't know, but the like
I'm not
the
asking you to
autism,
condone it. I know.
schizophrenia thing.
I talked about it with J-Rag. We
you and J-Rag can do that all you want. Right? For me, I don't know about the whole.
Listen, you don't get to go through life without paying a price. Okay, you have to choose the price you pay, and I'm willing to choose the price of being labeled ableist for that for a variety of reasons. That you can watch the J-Rag podcast if you want to hear.
If you want to hear more edgy stuff from PF Young, you can probably talk to the J-Rag podcast.
We can go edgy right now if you want.
No, thank you.
I know.
Yeah. And I think the roleplay thing and the
I was talking about being like Klaus Schwab and like not shitting on FD outright, but just saying what I believe to be true. And like,
I was going to say something about you as a person, and we'll do it after these messages.
I do have to piss.
BetterHelp is yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about non-binary. Do you?
What?
I don't want to talk about non-binary.
No, I don't give a shit about
Me neither. Okay. We already talked about it.
This is again another Jordan Petersonism. Is like when he like asserts that's like the thing that kind of almost like what you said. The thing that makes you most uncomfortable is the thing that the thing you least want to look at is the thing you have to look at. It's like, that's not true. What are you talking about?
Well, it's true in an existential sense.
Like it sometimes, but like I just feel like it's like,
I get what you're saying. It's like this is a waste of time.
Again, it's against humanity. It's like abandoning like these stakes and like this moral
quest. Yeah,
because like
you could also
because like you know what I mean. Like, isn't it beautiful that it's again in relationship? This is another thing. Like, I remember I had a fight with somebody where we had a fight over a thing that kept happening and it blew up quickly, and then a couple days later, like I called them like because we were like gonna talk about it, and I was like, I decided, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, my point, like, it doesn't matter. Like, can we just, like, not and, like, just be nice to each other? And, and they're like, yeah, that was it. That was the end.
Well, but that's the problem. Both of you have to work under the assumption of I'm not going to put my abstract beliefs above relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do think that, and that's...
But also
that's specifically a problem. It's not even just. It's not.
But sometimes
it's classically
people
associated.
are also like open to that, even if they don't think they're open to that. When they're just presented, like if you don't buy into their frame of like I want to be right, and instead you give them this alternative frame of like I don't care anymore, like and you just like are kind. You know what I mean? I think it's really important to really let things go and not get caught up in your own like delusions with each other. Your like mutual hysteria that you get into. You know what I mean? Well, like there are those too. It's just like I don't talk about non-binary stuff. Fuck.